Hello, my name is Herrera. I am a group tutor for Rio Bravo Middle School. So for this video, we are going to talk about what you learned in 8th grade math and how it will be important for High School Algebra 1. Let's do a quick refresher. We are going to be refreshing on square roots and cube roots. To begin, we will start off with square roots. So, what are square roots again? Square roots are represented by the following symbols. The best way to describe it is that when you multiply a number by itself, you are squaring it. Therefore, when you're looking for which number multiplied by itself is equal to the number inside the symbol, you're finding the square root of a number. As you have learned in the past, there are 3 ways to get square roots, either by making an educated guess, using a factor tree, and/or the less recommended way, a calculator. It is best to think of square rooting as taking the area of a square, which is side times side is equal to side squared, which is shown in this example. Furthermore, some examples may ask you to find 2 square roots of a number, such as find the 2 square roots of 49. So what are the factors of 49? The factors are 1, 7, and 49. With this, we can figure out that 7 times 7 is equal to 49. Therefore, one of the square roots is 7. With this information, we can also figure out the second square. So remember back to math class, we know that a negative times a negative equals a positive. And using this information, we can conclude that negative 7 times negative 7 is equal to 49. Therefore, the 2 square roots of 49 is 7 and negative 7. So whenever it asks you to find the 2 square roots, you'll get both a positive square root and a negative square root. Sometimes square roots can come in fractions. However, you're going to solve it the same way. For example, find the square root of 9 over 16. What you would do is break up the fraction, then put it back together. You will begin by breaking up the number, numerator and denominator, into their own as such. The square root of 9 and the square root of 16. Then you would solve each square root individually. For this one, the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 16 is 4. This means that the square root of 9 over 16 is 3 over 4. This would be the same if it was a negative. So find the square root of negative 9 over 16. You would begin by separating the fraction, the numerator and the denominator into their own square roots. Then you would solve each individually, and then you would combine them back to get the answer. And in this case, the outcome would just be negative 3 over 4. Therefore, it would also be the same answer if it had the positive and/or negative sign in front. So fun fact, if the square root is a whole number, it is called a perfect square. So now we're going to talk about cube roots. Cube roots are represented by the following symbol. It is different than square roots because it has a 3 and not a 2. The best way to describe it is that when you multiply a number by itself 3 times, you are cubing the number. Therefore, to undo this, you're going to take the cube root of the number, shown here in this example. Furthermore, it is best if you think of cube rooting as taking the volume of a cube, which is side times side times side is equal to side cubed. So for example, find the cube root of 27. The examples of cube roots look very similar to the square root symbol, except now there will be a 3 in the corner as mentioned earlier. This means that we're trying to find out which number is being multiplied by itself 3 times to get the number. The question marks shown here are the same number. So what are the factors of 27? They are 1, 3, 9, 27. From this point, it's best to determine which of these numbers is correct, to cube each number to figure out which is equal to 27. Therefore, in this case, the answer would be 3 cubed, which is 3 times 3 times 3 is equal to 27. Or, the cubed root of 27 is equal to 3. Sometimes, you will get negative cube roots. You will use the previous example to explain this. So find the cube root of negative 27. It is exactly the same process as before, only this time there is a negative sign. We can find its answer because negative times a negative times a negative is equal to a negative. Therefore, in this case, it would be negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to negative 27. Or in other words, negative 27 cubed is equal to negative 3. Therefore, if you have a negative inside the cube root, it is always going to give you the negative answer. With cube roots and fractions, it is the same process as for square roots. The cube root of 8 over 25 will be our example. What you will do is break up the fraction, then put it back together. So you would begin by separating the fraction into the cube root of 8 and the cube root of 125. Then you would solve each individually. So then the cube root of 8 is 2, and the cube root of 125 is 5. And then you would just combine them back together to get your answer. In this case, it would be 2 over 5. So overall, to wrap all of this up, the square root of a number is a factor that can multiply by itself to get the number. This is the symbols. And the best way to find square roots is to either make an educated guess or a factor tree. The cube root of a number is a factor that can multiply itself 3 times to get that number. This is a symbol for cube roots. And if we can't figure out what the number is, we can also use an educated guess or a factor tree here as well. Furthermore, if you guys have any more questions or just wish to know more, remember that tutor.com is a great resource that is available to you. I am Iris Herrera, and thank you for viewing square roots and cube roots with me. Bye.